So you need to do this so that your house doesn't burn down. What is that, you might ask? I cannot stress the importance of this. And after you hear it, you might think, what do you mean? Everyone does that. I assure you, everyone does not. There are some people that have never done this, ever. There are some whole families that have no idea that it even exists. How is that? Let me explain. So, every load of laundry that you do, unless you do it at the laundromat, if you have a washer and dryer at your house, you have to, no ifs, ands, or buts, clean out your lint trap in your dryer. If you don't know what your lint trap is, or where that is located, I will place a little video here. So that typically is where the standard lint trap is in a regular dryer that is basically 10 years or newer, even 15 years or newer. That's a generic location of where the lint trap is. You might also have a lint trap in the upper right on the top of your dryer, or even the upper left on the top of your dryer if you have an older model or a different brand. With that being said, Brian, what do you mean everyone knows where the lint trap is? No, they don't. When I was in high school, I had a friend. We were headed to the movies, but she needed to basically wait for her clothes to dry. I showed up. We watched a show. We watched another show. 3 shows in, I looked over and said, hey, how's those clothes? We're going to, we got to get to the movies. And she said, oh, well, loads of laundry take, between 2.5, sometimes 3.5 hours to dry. And I was kind of taken aback, and I went, no, they shouldn't. And her mom, which was right there in the other room, went, yeah, that dryer is about ready to be replaced. It takes, about 2.5 to 3.5 hours to dry a load. So it's almost time to get a new dryer. I didn't say anything. I kind of thought in my head, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, so I asked, I go, well, how old is your dryer? And I don't remember if it was the mom or the dad goes, oh, it's about 2.5, 3 years old. It's about time for a new one. Once again, I was kind of taken back, and I'm like, no, wait, how often do you guys replace your dryer? And they're like, usually about every 2.5, 3 years, we have to go get a new dryer because it stops drying the way that it should, and it takes too long to dry, and it's not worth the time of running the dryer. And I went, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? I'm like, dryers should last 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. And they're like, oh, no. We've never had a dryer last that long. The longest we ever had one was maybe 3.5, 4 years. And I started like second guessing my existence, like everything that I've been taught. I'm like, well, does it dry whenever you first get it? They're like, oh yeah, it dries great. Dries a load in, 20 to 40 minutes, just like it should. I went, well, have you looked at the lint trap? Like, is there something wrong with the lint trap? I mean, and whenever I said that, my friend and her 2 brothers, which was in the living room playing on their little handheld gaming system, looked at me and almost like whenever you make a new noise at a dog and they kind of turn their head and look at you, they looked at me and they're like, lint trap? And then all of a sudden, I guess I caught the attention of the parents. The dad, which was in the bedroom playing his PC, paused. The mom, which was watching a DVD in the bedroom, paused. They both came out and they're like, what do you mean lint trap? I'm like, that where the hot air blows through. And they're like, you mean the exhaust thing on the outside of the house? I was like, no. The lint trap. You know, with the handle, you pull out and you clean off the lint filter after every load. Once again, the entire family and the grandma was in the living room as well, was visiting. All gave me the same thing. They tilted their head and looked at me and went, the what? I was like, the lint trap. The hot air goes through it, it catches the lint. Before, and they're like, the thing outside. I go, no. Not the thing outside the house that with the little flap, not that. The lint trap that's in the dryer. There should be a handle somewhere. You pull it out after every load and you scrape off the lint and you throw it in the trash can. And all of them looked at me and they're like, our dryers don't have lint traps. My mind was blown. Because now I have the attention of the grandma as well. And she's like, wait, what are you talking about? I was like, the lint trap. And she's like, I don't know what you mean, the lint trap. I was like, come on. So the whole family, the grandma, the mom, the dad, my friend, and her two brothers walked down the hallway with me to the dryer. I went, here's the dryer. On the top, so you got all your buttons. Right here, the thing that you guys have a bunch of like things sitting in, they're like, that's where you put stuff that you take out of people's pockets. You put it there, coins or paper clips or whatever, or keys you find, you put it right there. I go, no. That's a handle. You're supposed to, so I take everything out of that. I grab the handle, I go to pull up. And the mom goes, that doesn't come out. I go, yeah, yes, it does. So I pull and I pull and I pull. It doesn't move. And she goes, that doesn't come out. So I actually got up on the dryer with my 2 feet, grabbed the handle with both of my hands, and I pulled up with both hands, and the thing came out. And like that thick of nasty, wet, mildewy, wet dog smelling lint that was compressed as thick as it could came out with it. And the entire family went. I scraped it off. I threw it in the trash can. I slid it back in. 8 minutes later, whole load's dry. Boom. They didn't have to get a new dryer. They all learned about the lint trap. So this is just my FYI. Every dryer has a lint trap. Make sure you clean it out after every load. Because if you forget, it can build up heat. Luckily, this family's house did not catch on fire because they were replacing their entire dryer every 2.5, 3 years instead of cleaning out the lint trap. If they would have just kept using it and kept using it and kept using it, their house could have caught on fire. So that's my tip for you. Let me know what you know.